This is us riding through the vineyards of Burgundy, just outside Beaune, on the Vélo route. This is a bike path that goes through a number of wine villages, as far as you can see, up the hills, on both sides. Lots of grapes. Bonjour, monsieur, madame.
Bonjour.
So all I can say is this is pretty cool. An old stone hut. Harvest is over, but some of the plants, some of the vines still have a few grapes. These are all Pinot. This is the southern part of the Cote de Beaune, which is primarily the red grapes. So we're going to keep riding the rest of the day. So continuing on our trail, we're coming to the first village. This is Pommard. One of the wines, we might have had two wines yesterday in our tastings from this village, Pommard. I don't know which fields are which, of course, but they have at least one Premier Cru and I think one Grand Cru, probably more. Au revoir. It's just a small village, lots of stone walls, and a little old church. But this is famous wine country. So we're about to enter the village. Pardon? Merci. Bonjour, madame.
Bonjour, madame. Bonne promenade. Oh.
Riding through the town. There's the old church. Painters are out. Kind of a bumpy road. Now we're leaving Pommard on the Vélo route au Volnay. And the villages are pretty small here once you get out of the big city of Beaune. So we're back into the vineyard. Starting a slight climb up the hill, which you can see everywhere is grapes. A nice little climb. You can see that we're kind of at the top of this little hill. And now we're entering the village of Volnay. So we're leaving Volnay. We're about to get on the route again, on the way to Meursault. Meursault is a wine that we had in a tasting yesterday. A really nice white from Meursault. So now we're coming up to the village of Meursault. A little bit bigger as the villages go. A lot more houses around here. Up on the hillside, bigger houses. But of course, vineyards everywhere. Looks like the steeple on the church in this town is bigger than most. And my guess is their primary income comes from grapes. So now we're entering Meursault. Same basic walls, same basic buildings. These buildings go back hundreds of years, and I guess that was the style of the time. Lots of rock in the fields, lots of limestone. That's what they build the walls with, the buildings with, and it's the limestone that makes the wine taste so distinctive in this area, as the roots go down very deep, 25, 30 feet, and they take the minerals from the limestone, and that's what gives particularly the Chardonnay in this area that distinctive mineral flavor. So we're on the Route des Grands Crus. This is the road to Pouligny-Montrachet. We had a Grand Cru from there yesterday. And sorry, the helicopter's flying by. So it's hard to say which vineyards are which, but lots of good wine. Janelle said that she would take that place just up there on the hill. And of course, I said I'd take everything else. Now we're coming up on Pouligny-Montrachet. And of course we got to get our picture taken here. Now we're about to enter Pouligny-Montrachet. We actually got off the bike path and we're driving or riding on the auto route through the same vineyards. We have one for cars and one for bikes, and we're actually on the car one right now. This is the first cemetery we've seen as we enter the town. Famous village. Pouligny-Montrachet. We're just riding around the edge of Pouligny-Montrachet. Off in the distance are the cliffs of limestone. And go figure, there's vineyards everywhere. It's absolutely gorgeous out here though, of course. We could definitely stay here a while. Now we're leaving Pouligny-Montrachet and headed back to the north on the Vélo route, back into the vineyards. Some pretty cool views, of course. Look at all those vineyards growing up the hill. As she was explaining to us yesterday, this isn't always the case, but the Grand Cru tend to have the highest places on the hills. The Premier Cru are the next down, so they're about the middle of the slopes. And then down in the flatland here is where they grow the village grapes, the ones that aren't as good. The Cote, like Cote de Beaune, and Cote d'Or, Cote d'Huy. Cote is slope. So that's why this area is so famous, because of these slopes that are facing the east. And now coming from the other direction, from the south, we're about to enter Meursault again. This was actually probably the biggest of the little villages on this path. That's why we got lost on the way through and ended up taking the auto route. The steeple is taller than any of the others. And it's set in an island of grapes. Coming into Meursault. So now we're leaving Merceau, headed back northbound again. Scenery is a little bit different going this direction, but pretty close to the same. Chanel pointed out that over here to the left, it's like a campground with little RVs and tents. Their RVs are much smaller here. So as we were riding along the first time, I noticed this rose bush right at the edge of the row. And the roses are actually planted because they'll get the mildew and diseases before the grapes. So if the roses start looking bad, it gives the grower time to work with the vines before they become infected too. Now we're entering Beaune again. Oh, they've got a very small church. It looks like there's the graveyard at that church. Much smaller town than Merceau. Off in the distance is Beaune. That's where we're going. And we're leaving Pommard. Over there is Beaune. That's the end of our journey for the day. A great drive through the Cote de Beaune. We didn't get to taste any wines. We tried, but they were closed. So we'll just have to find a place in Beaune. Au revoir.